And with that, I'm excited to introduce the first presenter on today's MegaCast. That is Christophe Bertrand. He's the Vice President of Product Marketing at Arcserve. Christophe, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, David, and thank you very much for taking the time to go through some of the issues associated with ransomware and the statistics, as well as the examples you provided. And there are so many statistics out there. We know it's a big problem. And ultimately, what you're dealing with here is a solution that has to take shape in the form of disaster recovery. Ransomware will go through, it will morph, it will change, but when it does, when it actually gets into your data, the only way out of it is to have a great backup and a great recovery plan. So that's what we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. I'd like to introduce or reintroduce Arcserve for those of you who don't know the company. We've been in business for many years, but more recently, in the past 3.5 years, we have become independent again, and a number of great things have happened. We're an independent company, we're a software company, but we also sell appliances and cloud services. We are based out of Minneapolis, but have a global presence with about 500 more plus employees and 45,000 customers, including over 22,000 customers on our flagship product, Arcserve UDP, Unified Data Protection. And that's what I'll talk about today, because you'll see that it is absolutely the solution to a ransomware attack when everything else fails. Having a great disaster recovery solution such as UDP will help you out greatly. We've been recognized for the quality of our technology with many awards. We have designed a solution that is the most modern in the market today. We excel at virtual environments. We also really understand well physical environments and have a solution that that provides everything ranging from traditional backups to high availability. So many options on the table. As a matter of fact, our portfolio is very complete, also including an archiving solution. So this gives you a sense for the solution suite today. And what I really want to point out is that as you look at the various levels of services you need to implement and the various types of functions you want to perform on your data, there is a lot more that meets the eye. And ransomware turns out to be a bit of a revealer. When something wrong happens, you really get to know what your backups are about and how good and how quickly you can recover. Our customers get regularly attacked. There's no question about that. And I'm sure if you're on this webcast, it's because you think you have exposures. You've been exposed to ransomware. What I want to do is take you through what this means from the perspective of backup and recovery, because it's an important point. So ransomware in terms of backup and recovery can be measured in recovery time objective and recovery point objectives. And what that means is that when ransomware hits, it will essentially create what I will call a logical disaster, okay, akin to somebody pulling the plug on those servers or sprinklers, the fire sprinklers going off, or a tornado hitting your data center. The one thing is that you are out of business in terms of either having access to your systems or access to your data, or both. There are so many variants that it's very hard to predict what will happen. Of course, the first line of defense is to have a great security and detection type of software. That's really the one thing you want to do. But should anything go through, you are now faced with understanding how quickly you can get rid of the infection. Next is, what do I recover and how far behind am I going to be in my data? So there's recovery point objectives, which is the currency of your data. How far behind is your data when you recover it, and the time it's going to take you. These are two very important metrics, and you really need to be able to communicate those metrics to your management, because if you're asking for an investment, these are the metrics that will really, really matter. So looking at our solution, which is Arcserve Unified Data Protection, I want to take you through the architecture at a very high level, and then through some scenarios of how we take care of disaster recovery when things hit. First of all, many of you have either just one site, for those of you who are in a smaller environment, but I see many of you in 100+ employees, so you probably have a couple of sites. Maybe you're leveraging also a cloud partner, many different options, and really we live in a hybrid world when it comes to data protection and disaster recovery. So we support many possibilities for you, many permutations and combinations. Of course, we're going to protect your primary site. Our solution, Arcserve UDP, has fantastic global deduplication, which means we can really squeeze a lot of backup data onto a much smaller footprint. So whether you're using an appliance, one of our appliances, or using storage or providing yourself, we give you a very, very good profile in terms of that storage consumption. It also benefits you in that the backups are very fast, allowing you to back up more and more often, while still using less bandwidth in your environment. We can back up your remote sites, should it be what you want to do, where we can consolidate those sites onto one central server, for example. Here I'm showing an example where you have a UDP appliance in one of your branch offices. We also support private clouds and MSP type of locations. Our capabilities are very, very wide. We like to coin our solution as really enterprise class, but for the mid-market, meaning that we have combined simplicity and ease of use. You do not need to be a PhD in backup to use this solution. We've combined that ease of use with enterprise class features, including high availability, continuous data protection, etc. Lots and lots of possibilities for you with this solution. And of course, I mentioned archiving as well. Finally, we support public cloud. We actually have a very broad and wide support, and we can do disaster recovery as a service in the cloud. If you would like to do that in Amazon, we support a number of options, including ones that optimize your cost by leveraging Amazon's own virtualization. So many different things we can do, many different options that will hopefully meet your requirements, but more importantly, your requirements will change and evolve, and we can evolve with them. So that's Arcserve UDP at a high level. And before I get into an example of a ransomware attack that we helped with, just know that we have a cloud solution as well. I mentioned public cloud. We also have the Arcserve Cloud, which is a specialty cloud service, as I like to call them, essentially disaster recovery as a service. So something you can use with your UDP software as a traditional software deployment, or with your UDP appliance, if that's what you're using in your environment. Again, this is a disaster recovery as a service. Arcserve Cloud, just one of the many ways you can leverage cloud in the UDP schema. We also need to spend some time on high availability. One of the things we do, and we do very, very well, is high availability. We've done that for many years. We have well-established position in that market, and the technology we use combines continuous data replication with the ability to fail over and fail back, including in the cloud. So you can do this locally, of course, which, by the way, is a great way potentially to, again, maintain your service levels should an attack happen, and should you understand exactly when it happened, you can rewind the system so the data is not affected, and then essentially start serving applications again, regardless of what application it is. We support many applications in multiple environments. The benefit, of course, is, again, the failover component to it, and the ability to also fail back. You can also position or place your high availability module in Amazon in this case. So, lots of possibilities here. I just wanted to point that out because ultimately when you think about recovery point objective and recovery time objective, a continuous replication solution such as ours is really the way to go. And by the way, it's not limited. It's not limited to one hypervisor or another. It has a broad support because of the capabilities and the architecture we've developed around it. So something to bear in mind. High availability is not backup. Backup typically will give you a recovery time objective and recovery point objectives in the minutes. In the best case scenario, more than likely it's in the hours when you talk about ransomware infections. But here, HA gives you much faster RPO and RTO. I mentioned the disaster recovery to the Amazon cloud. I think it's a great capability. Many of you have Amazon accounts. I will just say that it is one of the options. Again, what matters to your environment may be different than somebody else's environment. But we've seen, and based on popular demand around the world, by the way, we are supporting disaster recovery as a service in the Amazon cloud. We've supported it from the beginning when we launched Arcserve UDP, but we've enhanced our capabilities such that you can literally replace tapes by placing regular backups on storage that will be less costly for long-term retention. We can also provide an active backup environment or backup server. And also, we support the ability to leverage virtualization with capabilities that we call virtual standby and instant VM, where we can spin up your virtual machine and have the latest backup with all the nodes in that backup ready to go, ready to activate, ready to run. So this is a very, very nice solution and one that I think sets us apart from many others. Something to consider again. We will be providing similar capabilities in other public cloud environments in the next few weeks and few months as we keep updating our product. Our objective is to provide very similar features across all ecosystem partners. And in the future, you will also see us in the Amazon marketplace, but not quite yet. So moving forward, I'd like to spend a little bit of time on one important dimension that is associated with ransomware. Obviously, we help when remediation has to happen. We recover data. We help you get back on your feet. That's assuming you've cleaned your ransomware attack, that you've stabilized your environment, and for that there are a number of tools you can use. We focus on backup and recovery. We do this extremely well. We've done this for many years, and we have many customers who literally every week tell us, "Hey, thank you. You've helped us out of this situation." And ransomware comes back very often, I have to tell you. And we've spoken to many of our customers, and we certainly have best practices that we'd like to share, so that you also protect your environment adequately. So I'll talk about this in a minute. One thing you need to do is testing. Okay, our tagline, it's a trademark even, is assured recovery. And what that means is that we have the ability to, and we've had this for a long time, the ability to essentially test automatically your ability to recover. We give you great reports, RPO and RTO reports, but more importantly, we automate the testing. And what this capability gives you is the ability to go to your management and say, look, if we were hit by ransomware and we went into a recovery scenario, assuming we've cleaned the infection, this is how long it would take us and this is how far behind we'd be. Is this acceptable? Is this okay for the business? Or do you want us to do better? And there are ways you can do better. Obviously, I talked about high availability, and there are many other things you can do. But it gives you a way to demonstrate to yourself and to your management what you can do with the solution and with your backup and recovery infrastructure. So very good capabilities here that certainly we like to promote as a best practice, because there's no question it is. Now, let's talk a little bit about an example of how things have panned out for one of our customers. When we started covering ransomware in more details, and it really it's concurrent with the statistics or the slide that David was showing, and it really accelerated in the past couple of years, and certainly the past year has been more than interesting in terms of exponential growth of those attacks. Well, when we started, we didn't really have an example, and before we knew it, we had many examples, and we documented them. So here's one. I'm using here a multi-site medical center. This was actually one of our partners, who's a service provider, works with a number of end users locally in their province, in their region. And what they do is they support them in many different ways. One of them is by leveraging Arcserve UDP for the backup and disaster recovery capabilities and services. So essentially this targeted attack was one that targeted a medical center in healthcare centers, hospitals, medical facilities tend to be targeted by the criminals that essentially, infect the environment because they believe obviously they'll get a ransom paid because of the disruption it's creating and because people's lives in the line. So, as you can imagine, not the nicest people in the world here attacking and targeting senior citizens in this case. So the attack happened in the morning. The client initiated essentially declared an incident or a disaster at 8:30 a.m. And very quickly they identified it was a phishing Word document that spread. I believe in this case it spread also through some shares. So something to remember, and it really took on the environment pretty quickly. So luckily, they were able to figure that out quickly. Our partner came in by 3 hours later. They were back at a steady state where they were able to get things back up and running again in 3 hours. As I said, network shares were really the culprit here, as well as certainly poor end user education because they clicked on that word attachment when they probably shouldn't have. What was very nice is because they had identified the issues and they knew what was infected, they didn't have to do a full restore, which is nice because it's a little faster that way. They literally just moved files back from the latest backup, which was very, very recent, and literally lost no data. Zero data loss in this case. So I think there was a bit of luck involved here, clearly, but fundamentally the technology worked and it delivered exactly as planned. So, as I know there are a number of questions that are coming in, but we'll try to get to them in a second. I just wanted to share some best practices. Always protect the source machine. Those infections will come from multiple places, but typically email is going to be where you get in trouble, and that's where people click on the photos.zip or the Word document or an image that's not really an image or has some code hidden in it. So take those precautions and make sure that your end users are really well educated on and maybe even do some regular tests. There are companies that do a fantastic job helping you with that. Regular backups, I cannot mention that enough. If you have heard every specialist that talked about WannaCry, the first thing they tell you is backup. Yeah, have great security software, patch, but backup, backup, backup. And another thing is have offline copies. I'll tell you why, because if you are dealing with maybe some ransomware that hits everything, or maybe there's some social engineering where people gain access to your backup environment, it's happened before. Social engineering is not necessarily ransomware, but something everybody can be exposed to. Just know that it's very important to have an offline copy, so a copy that cannot be touched by any system or any ransomware, essentially, or any virus. So having regular offline copies, and by the way, you can leverage maybe the cloud for this. Some of our customers use, as I mentioned, S3 to do that, or AWS. A very good way to get that offline copy easily accessible should anything come up. Also, not using the same protocol is not a bad thing. Now, again, like everything else, make sure that security and access is only granted to the right people. And then, the other aspects is to protect the protector. So, the backup data itself. We provide our customers with many best practices. I want to also dispel the myth that although clearly Windows environments tend to be more attacked, but I want to dispel the myth that other platforms are immune to attacks. They can be attacked just the same way. So the best practices apply regardless of the platform you run on. And it's important to, again, combine the technologies that are available to you today. Replicate data offsite, maybe even to a cloud partner. If ever your backup server got infected, you run the risk that your backup data will be affected as well. Okay, or maybe even deleted. There are some ransomware attacks that have done that to certain vendors. So it's very important to have that offline copy always available because it guarantees that you'll be able to get back on your feet and get those backups back. And again, periodically get data in a safe place as well, so that you can separate the physical location of the data. So again, cloud in this case is a very good way to do it. So in conclusion, backup. Educate your end users, understand who needs to have access to what, and be clear about managing your security and your access to applications, especially what will be the recovery solution, the backup environment. I cannot mention enough the fact that you need a comprehensive security policy. It is not just buying one piece of software or doing one thing. It's going to take multiple dimensions. The same could be said of backup and recovery. And then, there's a lot of marketing hype out there. Make sure you talk to specialists when it comes to security. There are security specialists. There are great companies out there. They're the ones to go to. I would say there's a lot of hype out there in terms of detection and prediction. I think it is important to work with, again, the right type of partners in this. How quickly you can identify an attack is really going to be based on the quality of your security security software and your security measures. If you get an alert that says, "Oh, I'm seeing that a number of files are being encrypted," or there's some weird pattern, guess what? It has executed. It is too late. It's like the weatherman telling you that it's raining outside. Okay, that's not helpful. So you really need to take it at the source and have the right type of security solutions that will understand, maybe through even artificial intelligence, how to capture the ransomware before it hits your environment, or clearly stop it immediately as it comes in, and then understanding that, make sure that every other source machine that could be infected is protected by having this quick learning process. This is not something you can improvise. This requires a lot of, again, technology that is on the security side of the equation. So just wanted to point that out. So with this, I would like to now turn it over back to you, David.
Awesome presentation. Thanks, Christophe. We do have a number of questions from the audience here, and if you're out there in the audience, if you haven't asked a question now's the time to do it. So, the first question, Christophe, I have for you is, they're asking here, if we got hit with ransomware, could my cloud backups be affected?
Your cloud backups. Well, it's a good question. I would say not likely, because you're placing your backups in a different environment where you would expect someone to gain access, and it's a different protocol to get there, number one, and then you wouldn't have to have access. So I think with social engineering combined with ransomware, so a very nefarious, very targeted combined criminal attack, of course there's always a risk, anything can happen, but otherwise I would say that having the offline copy being in a cloud environment is definitely a good best practice. Let me put it another way. The risk that you would have both environments attacked at the same time when one of them is clearly hosted by another company with their own protocols and very serious security defenses in place. That combination seems to be a very, very low probability. So I think it's a great practice to do that, actually.
Okay. Another question here is they're asking, if we used Arcserve, how quickly could we recover?
That's a very good question. So there are multiple answers to it. If you know that you're in a place where you can fail over, number one, if you use our CDP and high availability option, we're talking minutes, okay, or less. Literally, we filter every IO that comes through and we replicate it, and we can fail you over. So it's going to be the time it takes to fail over, which typically will be minutes. If you decide to leverage our instant VM or virtual standby capability, you could be in minutes of recovery points. Typically, we say 15 minutes. And in terms of recovery time, it can be extremely fast. The time it takes to spin up a VM, essentially. So you can see that can go, and that can be optimized, so it can be very fast. So I would say best case scenario is minutes, or seconds to minutes with high availability. Otherwise, minutes to hours, depending on when you declare the incident. The big issue you're going to run into is not us helping you recover. Obviously, you have to have regular backups and a fresh backup. It's going to be when you think you're in a position to do so. And that is going to be tied to you having fixed the ransomware attack first, or being in a place where when you recover, you're not reinfecting the environment.
Got it. Another question here, they're asking, maybe just some clarification is needed. Is Arcserve software? Is it hardware? Is it both?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we're a software company, but we also offer an appliance which runs the UDP software, so it's fully interoperable. So it's really a choice. Some of our customers prefer the appliance form factor, so it comes with the built-in replication. Our replication is built in. We don't charge for it. We have also global source-side deduplication, so that comes standard with the product and saves you again a ton of storage and allows us to have appliances and environments that back up a lot of data, yet a small footprint on the appliance. And we offer cloud services as well, and support extensive support for cloud environments.
Very nice. And here's kind of a straightforward question. What sets you apart from other solutions?
I will say it's the novelty of the architecture, where the solution, the youngest in a sense, but still the most experienced vendor in the space. We've been in this business for 25 years. We know backup and recovery extremely well, yet our solution, Arcserve UDP, is the most modern out there that combines enterprise-class features with deep understanding of the mid-market and the need for simplicity. So that combination of enterprise class features and simplicity combined with our years of experience, yet a modern architecture, puts us in a very, very good place, I believe, functionally to really help customers evolve and cover very complex environments sometimes. And that's really the big benefit.
Excellent. Another question here is about, do you support tape drives, tape libraries?
Yes, we do. We do, and we actually have a very extensive support list. It's on our website in the support section. You can see the list of supported tape libraries, drives, etc. It is certainly another differentiator, again, stemming from having years of experience in the space. We ported the tape capabilities into our UDP solution, so it's all integrated. And you will see that you can pretty much imagine everything that is out there in the market today. We pretty much cover. Very comprehensive support.
Okay. Sandra here, she's asking, can you back up encrypted data?
Can you back up encrypted data? You can. I think the way it works, we provide some level of security and encryption. So backing up encrypted data is always an interesting question, because you may or may not be able to apply some of the benefits of deduplication to it. And then if you're going to re-encrypt something that's encrypted, you may create some interesting situations. So yeah, you can back up anything. It's just not necessarily going to be as efficient, depending on how what type of process you put in place. Now, if you have encrypted data, there's probably a good reason why you do. So I think we would have to understand how that is, why it is encrypted, what type of data it is, and based on that, what expectation you can have in terms of how things can also be recovered. The one thing about encrypted data is also in the recovery piece, part of it. You need to make sure you have all the keys to recover.
Excellent. Well, I think that's all the time we have for questions, but there's a lot more questions left still from the audience. If you don't mind getting back to them there electronically, I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for being on today, Christophe.
Will do. Thank you, David. Thank you, everybody.